Hey, we're going to do the homework due Friday. And again, feel free to do this in class. If you didn't see the video until Friday, feel free to put it on a different piece of paper and bring it next class. Okay, so if we're going to graph this line, we see this part is the intercept. So if you put an x and a y axis here, we want it to cross the axis at 3, right? And it has a slope of 1/1. Rise 1, run 1. Okay? So if I go up 1 box over 1 box, up 1 box over 1 box, I should have a line. There you go. All right, here's another one. We have the intercept is at 1. So let's go ahead and draw an x and y axis here. The intercept here is just at 1. And now our slope is at -5. So we can think of that as -5 over 1, or fall 5, run 1. Okay, so we start here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fall 5, run 1. And that is our line. There it is. Okay, next one here. We have -5 as our intercept. So let's draw in our x and y here. So we start our drawing at -5. And our slope is positive. Rise 2, run 3. So if we start here, rise 2, run 3, our line should be somewhere right about there. Rise 2, run 3, rise 2, run 3, something looking like that. All right, so let's take a look at some more of these. It says, what slope-intercept form represents the line? And it is an equation. So an equation has to have an equal sign, and we can use this same form, and our generic form would be y equals mx plus b. So kind of doing the same thing we did here, but backwards. Notice the 3 was here, so kind of working backwards. If this is our origin, and this is 1, looks like it's 1 where we cross the axis. And the slope is going rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1. So definitely I would take this for the slope. You could also rewrite it if you don't like that 1 underneath there. This would also be a correct answer, 2x plus 1. Cool, hopefully you're getting the hang of that. Now kind of using the same technique here, we see that here's the origin, 0, 0, and we see it crosses it at -5. So once again, using this as our generic formula, we have the slope and then -5. Okay, so we still need our slope, and it looks like I don't rise at all. So in math, not rising would be 0 rise, and we could think of it running any number we pick. So I can rise, nope, didn't rise. And I can run, you could think of it as running 3 boxes. And that's still 0. 0 divided by any number is 0. Or you could also think of this as a flat line, which has no slope. So you have y is equal to 0x minus 5. So this would be a correct answer. I also would take something that looks like this. This is a graph of the line y is equal to -5, because these are all the numbers where y is equal to -5. Now, okay, this one's a little bit more like these other ones, right? We have the intercept here at 4, so y is equal to 4. And then it's definitely going downhill. So our slope's going to be fall 1, run 2, fall 1, run 2. So fall 1, run 2. Looks like my slope is negative 1/2. All right, that looks a little messy. I'll just rewrite it down here. Negative 1/2 x plus 4. All right. Now, it says write an equation, but without a graph. Well, we could just as easily use a graph, or we could use numbers in a way to do without it. So let's see. It says we have a point, -1, 3, and -3, 1. So I'm just going to make a quick sketch. -1, 3, -3, 1. So it looks like that's definitely going to make a positive slope. And even for my little sketch here, I could kind of see it looks like I'm going up 2 over 2. So pretty interesting. Even a tiny little sketch like this would help me find the equation. But I could use algebra. So if I just use algebra, meaning I don't use a graph, but I like using the graph, right? It's geometry. This helps me make sure I'm getting the algebra right. You may have seen this formula, the change of y over the change of x. So how are the y values changing? Well, I noticed y was 3 and now it's 1. So it changed from 3 to 1. So I can write it 1 minus 3. I also see in the x, it went from -3 minus a -1. So you may have seen this technique in Algebra 1. So -3 minus a -1 would be the same as -3 plus 1. And -2, that would be -2. And here we go. I said it, rose 2, ran 2. That's the same thing. 2 over 2 is 1. So our slope is 1. Now, if we think about the intercept here, we may also use some algebra or just some logic. It's already here at -1, 3, and we know it just goes up 1 over 1 more. So it sounds pretty logical that this would cross there at 4. So I'm pretty sure the formula would be y is equal to 1x plus 4. But is there a way to use algebra to be sure? The answer would be yes. So once you know the slope, you have an x and a y value. And we can use any x or y value to plug this in and find, that would be b, the number where the intercept. Okay, so let's just double check. Let's use this coordinate. So when x is -1, and we're going to call that b. When x is -1, y is 3. So we have a 3 is equal to -1 plus b. And if I add 1 on both sides, notice 3 plus 1 is 4. So that confirms that b has to be 4. Cool. Okay, here's another one. So we have x is -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And y is 8. And then we have the coordinate +4, +6. So it looks like it's going from 8 to 6. So it looks like it's falling 2, right? From 8 to 6. It fell 2. And it ran from -4 to +4. So it fell 2. And it ran 8. So that should be a slope of -1/4. I would also take -2/8 as well. That's totally cool. And then we say to ourselves, well, when is it going to cross this axis? Well, it seems as if it was here at 8. Now it's at 6. So it must have crossed it at 7 plus 7. I could use some algebra to solve, but I'm just going to use my picture as a model. I'm pretty positive that's my answer. Okay, last one of this type. let's take a look. We have a coordinate 9, 2, and -3, -2. So it's definitely a positive slope, right? It went up from -2, so it went up 2 and then another 2. So it rose 4 and it ran from -3 to 9. So that would be a total of 12. So it rose 4 and it ran 12. That would reduce the fraction 1/3 x. Now you're trying to look on here like, well, where would that happen exactly? It's kind of hard to see just from my quick sketch here. It looks like probably a -1. That'd be my guess. So I'm just going to call it B. And again, I can use any coordinate because this tells me when x is 9, y is 2. So when x is 9, so I'll put a 9 there. When x is 9, y is 2. So we look here, it says 1/3 times 9, that'd be 3. And then I can subtract 3 on both sides to find what b is, get -1. Well, that's what my picture looks like. That would have been where I would have guessed anyway. So my equation is y is equal to 1/3 x minus 1. I think my intercept is at -1. Thanks for joining us. Check out the next video for question 10 and 11.